talked last week about managing stress and anxiety while you're planning for college. And quite frankly, just we didn't have enough time. So we are going to talk a little bit more about that today. Don, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and thanks for the promotion. I'm not an occupational therapist. That's my wife,
Oh,
but I like the promotion. I mean, my pay raise would probably go up, I guess, maybe if I did. But
well, yay for Gina.
I mean, she's part of my practice, so that does play into it. We work together in helping families. I'm
Yes.
an EFT practitioner, that an alternative practitioner is what my role is.
Well, good. So I know last week we talked about the importance of communication in a family, especially during this stressful time. When we're planning for college and we've got people that are excited and scared on both sides, the parents and the kiddos that are going off to college. So, how can we further help them manage their stress and anxiety while they're trying to figure out all this other stuff that is going to be stressful?
Well, there's a lot that yeah, there's a lot to that. But yeah, anxiety is high, and so first that, and we talked about this, I think, some in the last one about mindset and the mindfulness factor. That it's really important to be able to get clarity of the mind, and in doing that, one of the big parts of that is accepting the thoughts. So, the thoughts are going crazy right now. Oh, I got to do this. I got to, a gazillion thoughts. And what a lot of times we're fighting the negative thoughts. Oh, I shouldn't think like that. I got to think about this. I got to think forward. And we have to, change that pattern, because our mindset can be, uh, well, that's a huge anxiety driver. So getting clarity of mind, and what we're going to talk about with these other things helps in that too.
Now, Don, are we talking, when you say that, are we talking about parents or are we talking about students?
Well, actually, both. And it parents understand it, usually get it better than the young adults or teenagers. But it's really the idea of mindfulness. It's actually something that's growing right now. I mean, the hospitals are knowing it. That the whole medical world is starting to get into this, the idea of mindfulness as part of healing. But mindfulness is really tuning in to yourself and realizing what's going on. So being able to realize when you feel that anxiety, where's the cause of it? And a lot of it is in thinking, what you're thinking, the negative thoughts. Oh, do we have enough money for this? Is Am I going to do okay? Am I going to get the right school? All of these thoughts really are overwhelming. Sometimes they're negative in content, and that doesn't help anxiety any. So it's being able to kind of tune in. It's about relaxing and letting yourself, even some meditation, all helps you to get clarity in the mind. And like I said, a lot of people don't think about it. You're rushed. You're trying to get the prep work done. You're trying to get them to school, or they're at school, and life gets busy, and they don't think.
Well, Don, I can tell you, I could have used you last night. I was talking to my senior in college who is applying for jobs and was confused about the fact that they're not moving on his timeline. So jobs are closing, he's not getting them, and he's not following up. And I was like, and I could feel myself getting stressful, and I didn't want to put my stress on him, but I still needed to teach him a lesson, right? That you've got to be on top of this stuff. You've got to stay on task. Um, yeah, I think I could have used some positive thoughts going through my brain last night when that happened. So, I hear what you're saying. And when you're in those moments, do you have a trick for us so that we can be less stressed ourselves?
Well, one is, first off, is to take a breath. you know, to literally, there's a method that I teach people. I didn't make it. I didn't come up with it. It comes from, well, I learned it from Dr. Wiles, who is, Wheels Wiles. I can't. He's a alternative. He's a guru of medical and alternative. And it's taking in a breath for the count of 4. So you and then holding it for like about 7 seconds and then releasing it really slow. And so yeah, I always tell people, you're ready to react to something or respond to something, like somebody coming at you, like your son coming out. Oh my gosh, I'm not missing all these, and he's just going blah, 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 coming out with it. Is to really take a moment to take a breath and almost like stepping back a little bit, because it gives the mind a moment to breathe and think through what you're going to respond with, so that you don't come back with, because it doesn't help to come back with the same energy a lot of times, then you're
No,
just,
it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. And I did feel myself going there.
yeah, you
Yeah.
end up climbing the wall together,
Mhm.
so first is taking a breath. you know I teach a method called tapping, EFT, which is doing some uh, tapping on the what pressure body pressure points, that we call them the meridian points, the energy points of the body, that will bring down anxiety within seconds.
Yeah.
It's
And I've done tapping, and it's really interesting. It really does help. Um, and I think that, people are interested in that. They should can they give more information on that on your website?
well, yeah, it's I think it says what is EFT, but
Okay.
or contact me and we can talk about it. But yeah, that's one of the things that I teach, and actually kids pick up on it really well, and and so it kind of goes back to um, about what you're saying to each other, you know, is allowing. We tend to, as parents, want to throw out a fix. This is how you fix it. This is how you do it. You
Yeah.
know, instead of encouraging them is, how could we solve, what do you think we could do to solve, what could you do to solve this, giving them the ability to start building that thinking process up. If we can do
Yeah.
it in their life, that's even better. But
Yes, and I'm a firm believer in that, especially Don, when we're talking about this age for sure. That we've got these high school students that we need to start being the consultant, not the manager, not the commander, and telling them what to do. It's really asking those questions. And I'll tell you, in practice, makes a ton of sense. When you're in the heat of the moment,
it's
it does get harder.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I say taking the breath to be able to think through it first, and not automatically. One of the things we teach and that we do a communication class for parents is not to jump out with an answer. Be quiet for a moment. Wow, you're really upset about that, and then shut up and just
Yeah.
listen. Because what will happen is they will start saying more, and
Right.
a lot of times that, again, you want to teach them to be independent thinkers. Now, unfortunate part is their mind right now at that age still isn't fully developed. It doesn't really, from what we've learned in the last like 10 years or so, it doesn't really fully develop till they're in their late 20s. So that's playing into it. So it really takes a lot of encouragement for us to bring that thinking process out, and let them get clarity with it with themselves. So I know I emphasize a lot on the mindset and the mindfulness, but oh my gosh, it plays such a big role. And then how we communicate to each other plays a huge role in anxiety.
Well, and I know, Don, we're running out of time, but you also had a couple other tips for students to kind of help them work through some of this stress and anxiety. What are those?
We talked about journaling, writing it down, and don't make it a big official kind of, it has to be some specific book, you know, notebook, just a notebook, and write down your thoughts. That do that, what they call the dump at night, where you dump your thoughts so they're not weighing on you. But being able to write down can make it more clear for you. When you write stuff down, it solidifies it more in the mind. So journaling, and maybe I shouldn't even call it journaling, because that'll sound like, oh my gosh, that got to get a book, and I got no. It's not a big process. When you get a thought, write it down. You know, and that helps to get it through. You know, we also talked about eating, and I don't. This is a whole nother subject to go into, but eating right foods, you know, eating junk foods and things like that, they can really cause food. The stomach is called the second brain by most experts now, because it has so much effect on what the brain does, and it can amplify anxiety to the max if you're eating inflammatory foods like sugars and things like that. When your whole body's inflamed because of the food you eat, your mind is inflamed too, and that just causes all kinds of anxiety.
All right, so that looks like there's two facts that parents can take away, two different tactics to help their teens with stress, and the third being, I guess, mindfulness for everybody. But that is encourage them to write down their thoughts before they go to bed and do a brain dump, as well as watch what they're eating. And families, if you're watching either live or after the fact, you can go to Dawn's website, and it is www.focusedhealthyfamily, and it's running across the crawler at the bottom. If you're interested in reaching out to me, I'm at kristenclark.com. And at any point, if you want to put questions into the comments, Don and I would be happy to answer anything that you have regarding anxiety around college.
Sure, I'd love to talk with him.
Great. Don, thanks so much. And we will talk again in a couple weeks about some other challenges around managing stress and anxiety. And this was actually while students are at college. So look for part 3 soon. Thanks, Don.
You take care.